When a nation has lost the favor of God, it often becomes weak. Israel, with all the murders going on in the palace, and the various kings still doing or allowing evil in the sight of the Lord, Israel was ready for a hit from external enemies. Hi, I'm Ken Godevanis, and this is Digging for Scriptural Gems. Today we study how Assyria evades Israel as we look at 2 Kings chapter 15, verses 19 to 38. Thanks for joining us. In verse 19, we are told Pul, P-U-L, the king of Assyria, came against Israel. Menahem, Israel's king, gave him 1,000 talents of silver to gain his favor as an ally. To get these funds, Menahem charged each man of Israel 50 shekels. Pul took the money and returned to Assyria. In verse 22, we are told Menahem eventually dies, is buried with his fathers, and his son Pekahiah becomes king. This is now in the 50th year of Azariah's reign in Judah, and Pekahiah reigns for 2 years. He too did evil in the sight of the Lord, like Jeroboam II. Verse 25 tells us that Pekah, the son of Remaliah, one of his officers, conspires against Pekahiah, strikes him in the palace, and kills him, along with Argob and Ariel, possibly 2 of his supporters, although there's no agreement on that, with some thinking they were 2 prominent figures in the group of the 50 Gileadites that accompanied Pekah. Pekah now becomes king. Is this confusing yet? It should be. This was in the last year, the 52nd year of Azariah's reign in Judah. And Pekah reigns for 20 years, does evil in the sight of the Lord. Let's stop there before the Assyrians fully invade, and let's dig a little deeper. The NAT notes tell us that Pul was the nickname of Tiglath-Pileser III, but we're not certain as there's no agreement on that. In any case, Tiglath-Pileser III was a powerful Assyrian king who transformed the Neo-Assyrian Empire, initiating its greatest expansion through significant military, administrative, and political reforms, creating a professional standing army, conquering vast territories from Babylonia to the Mediterranean, even becoming king of Babylon himself, and, get this, implementing mass deportations for control. Just as an aside, maybe that's where the current president of the U.S. is getting his ideas, or maybe it just all makes sense as it did back then. We should also note how much money was involved here. The accepted weight of a talent of metal was 75 pounds. Thus, the payment would amount to about 75,000 pounds of silver, or 37.5 tons, if my mathematics is correct. And Menahem actually taxed the wealthy men of Israel to get this money for Pul. David Guzik tells us Menahem put the kingdom of Israel under tribute to the Assyrian Empire. He purchased the backing of the Assyrian king with a large amount of money raised from the wealthy in his kingdom, and therefore ruled with the strength of Assyria supporting him. Seems to me, another aside, that Canada's current Prime Minister is doing the same thing to his country, taking his citizens, or taxing his citizens rather, to support other countries, and often in very woke projects. History does have a way of repeating itself. Commentator Knapp adds, the burden of the levy fell upon the rich, which needs not excite much sympathy when we learn from the prophets Amos and Micah how their riches were obtained. You can check that out in Amos chapter 4, verse 1, chapter 5, verses 11 and 12, chapter 8, verses 4 to 6, and then Micah chapter 2, verse 2, chapter 6, verses 10 to 12. Wiseman tells us how, quote, the Assyrian policy was initially to leave a state on its borders independent, though requiring a substantial annual payment for this privilege. Thereafter, the state might be made a vassal, which entailed having an Assyrian official at court as a watchdog on the ruler's attitudes. End of quote. That reminds me a bit of Russia's approach to dealing with its neighbors. I'm full of all these asides today, aren't I? Robert Jameson suggests that Menahem sent him 1,000 talents in order not only to divert him from his plans of conquest, but at the same time to purchase his friendship and aid for the establishment of his own precarious sovereignty. Folks, that goes on today as well. We give loans to various countries, we give gifts to various countries, and we have our own agenda in mind for doing all that. Jameson also suggests that when one compares the dates of these events with Azariah's reign, it seems that several months had intervened between the death of Menahem and the accession of Pekahiah, probably owing to an internal contest or squabble about who should assume the throne. Now, Matthew Henry observes something in general concerning these unhappy revolutions and the calamities which must needs attend them, these bad times, as they may truly be called during these various reigns. God had tried the people of Israel both with judgments and mercies, explained and enforced by his servants, the prophets, and yet they continued impenitent and unreformed, and therefore God justly brought these miseries upon them, as Moses had warned them. If you will yet walk contrary to me, I will punish you yet 7 times more. Let that sink in. If you will yet walk contrary to me, I will punish you yet 7 times more. Leviticus 26, verse 21 and following. God made good his promise to Jehu that his sons, to the 4th generation after him, should sit upon the throne of Israel. When the measure of the sins of the house of Jehu was full, God avenged upon it the blood then shed, called the blood of Jezreel. You can check that out in Hosea chapter 1, verse 4. All these kings did everything which was evil in the sight of the Lord. All of them did something, rather, that was evil in the sight of the Lord. For they walked in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. Each of these, except one, conspired against his predecessor and slew him. God may suffer wickedness to prosper. He may allow it to prosper and to carry away the wealth and honors a while, but sooner or later, blood shall have blood, and he that dealt treacherously shall be dealt treacherously with. The ambition of the great men made the nation miserable. No land can have greater pests, nor Israel worse troubles, than such men as care not how much the welfare and repose of their country are sacrificed to their revenge and affectation of dominion. While the nation was thus shattered by divisions at home, the kings of Assyria, first one, verse 19, and then another, verse 29, came against it and did what they pleased. Nothing does more towards the making of a nation an easy prey to a common enemy than intestine broils and contests for the sovereignty. Happy the land where that is settled. And finally, this was the condition of Israel just before they were quite ruined and carried away captive. If they had, in these days of confusion and perplexity, humbled themselves before God and sought his face, that final destruction might have been prevented. But when God judgeth, he will overcome. These factions, the fruit of an evil spirit sent among them, hastened that captivity. For a kingdom thus divided against itself will soon come to desolation. It's no coincidence that just yesterday I read this same sentiment from the lips of Abraham Lincoln, discussing the potential harm of having half of America be for slavery and half against it. We too are facing many of these similar circumstances in our countries in the West. My prayer is that our leaders learn from Israel. They learn from Lincoln. Failing that, may each of us individually be right with God and act rightly in his sight. Join us next time as we study the Assyrians making their move. In the meantime, if you like what you're seeing or hearing, please indicate so on the video you're watching. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, Digging for Scriptural Gems, please go to YouTube, put in Digging for Scriptural Gems, and subscribe. But most importantly, keep on studying the Word of God.